Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. It is the 1st of October, 2025. I hope everybody is out there having a wonderful day, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. Not wasting much time today, man. We're getting right to it. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. A big shout out to our partners: Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. Hit them up for all your commercial and residential needs. And of course, Evra Health, our partners, went over there yesterday to the campus. Unbelievable. Just an incredible atmosphere there. We're going to have our injury report with Dr. Rodriguez tomorrow at 12:30, every Thursday at 12:30. Wow. Man, we got plenty to get into tomorrow with him on the injury report, especially talking about Tyreek Hill. And then another injury, and this is what I've been saying on Monday. When everybody else keeps talking about, oh, this team is going to get better and this team's going to, the injuries are going to lessen, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. No guarantee. Nobody wants to talk about the elephant in the room. Everybody wants to talk about, almost. Again, I just saw something online talking about pressures. Oh, look at how great Yaya and Hassan Reddick are doing on the pressures. Pressures is one of the most useless stats in all of sports. If it doesn't eventually lead to sacks, all you're talking about is quantifying almosts. Could it lead to sacks? Yes, of course, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. It's almost like, oh, yeah, hard hit balls in baseball or high danger chances in hockey. Yeah, okay, those are almost stats. That is only giving you part of the entire story and part of the equation. Like, you need finite stats. You need you need stats that are black and white. A sack is a sack. An interception is an interception. All these things about pressures, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I told you guys on Monday, if you were listening to the show, watch out for the injuries, because I don't know if this is something that's going to stop. It feels like the Detroit Lions from 2025 or 2024. And then we see this news. Bucky Irving in a walking boot today and on crutches, the indoor practice facility over there at the Avon Hill Training Center at One Buccaneer Place. If I was a betting man, I would say that Bucky Irving will not be available for Sunday's game against the Seattle Seahawks. And I warned you before the season, when everybody else was talking about Bucky's going to get this many yards and Bucky's going to get that many yards. Remember who was telling you that Bucky had 3 different injuries last year? Remember who was telling you not to give up on Rachaad White? Remember who was telling you just this week, earlier on this show, that Rachaad White and Sean Tucker needs to see more of the load? Because now look at what happened with Bucky Irving. Dealing with the foot sprain again. We'll go over this with Dr. Rodriguez tomorrow on the injury report, but this is not good. This is not good. He's not a big guy. He takes a lot of hits. He doesn't go out of bounds. I mean, listen, you'll laud him for it. You'll love him for it. But that doesn't bode well for a guy that's going to be healthy over 17 games. Now, and Dave Velasquez is always over. Rachaad has a chance to prove his worth and get paid. I don't know if necessarily it's that, to be honest with you, because I already think he's proven his worth. And I think Rachaad is a guy that is going to do better if he's working with a guy like Bucky Irving. You're seeing this less and less in the National Football League, where it's one bell cow running back. It's a tough game. And now you're playing 17 games, eventually going to play 18, eventually going to play 20 games. You're not going to be able to do it with one running back. You're not. Look across the board. I mean, one of the most impressive games last weekend was Seattle, and they had Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. All right, I know he got hurt, Braylon Allen for the Jets, but yeah, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. The Bucs have Rachaad White backing up Bucky Irving, but you need both guys. You need both of them to be successful. Let's see if you guys want to chop in or mention, jump in on the program. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom. And if you want to join us via the video chat, the link is right at the bottom. The link is right there in the chat. StreamYard.com/AXN94C2BN7. Let's see. I'm with you, DT. The friggin' injuries are piling up, and your Liverpool guys look like crap in the Champions League. Don't even worry about it, bro. Just focus on the Premier League. I don't care if Liverpool wins again as long as it's not Arsenal. It's so frustrating, even since last year. Get a player back, lose 1-2 player. It's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back with this team. Our guy Hammer, let's go. Golf trip to Hilton Head with the fellas this weekend. Nice. That makes you feel better after a tough day. Man, Hammer, you deserve it, pal. Make sure you check out my guys, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, 813-244-0956. How cool is that? Dolan, today's Benny's sister's birthday. Really good to see there. Perry, need more information on each sack to determine the effect of the play, like interception by Dean, which was influenced by his pressure. So pressure is an important factor. Yeah, but that you're talking. Look at how you have to quantify it, Perry. Pressure is an important factor. A pressure doesn't automatically lead to something. It can, yes, but if your pressures don't lead to sacks, then it's a hollow statistic to me. Because if the guy gets the ball away and he makes a complete pass, then what good is the pressure? A hit is a hit in baseball. You get on base. There's no deciphering what kind of hit it is. It's a hit. Now, there's other statistics, slugging, on-base percentage, and, if you quantify the singles, doubles, triples, and home runs, fine. But a hit is a hit. Black and white. Doesn't matter how ugly it is. Doesn't matter. It's a hit. You get on base. Too many, again, I hate these stats where it's just like you have to kind of quantify them and qualify them with certain things, and it may lead to this and it may lead to this. Man, you start quantifying a player's effectiveness by numbers that don't tell you the whole story. That's not numbers that I want to rely on. I would rather rely on the eye test. I would rather rely on what I see rather than something like that where it doesn't always tell the whole story. And if we want to talk about numbers, Pro Football Focus had Yaya Diaby as the lowest rated player on the Buccaneers. So just because the pressure is good, that means he played a good game. But the end all be all when it comes to statistics in the National Football League, the statistic that the NFL themselves uses has him as the worst player on this team in the Eagles game. So which one is it? Which one is it? The OC should have been incorporating a 3-headed rushing attack from day one. Yeah, you got that right, buddy. You got that right. White and Tucker will carry the load, and you're going to see some Josh Williams as well. The Yankees and Red Sox game was really fun. No, it was not. Not for me, my friend. Before we get to our guy that is going to be joining us on the program, the one and only Martin Gramatica, I want to talk about something that we saw, and this was really, really disturbing. And I wanted to touch on this real quick because she is a friend. Casey Hudson, if you remember her, she used to work down here. She used to work down here covering the Lightning. She worked for Florida FNN. She did some freelance work. She did work with the Lightning. She did some of the intermission reports. And she's done an incredible job up there with Ness in Boston, covering all things sports up there, including the Bruins. And this dipshit, Connor McConnor, says a black female discussing ice hockey. For fuck's sake, who makes these decisions? First off, Connor McConnor, you piece of shit. Casey Hudson probably has more knowledge of hockey in her pinky toe than you have in your entire body. I cannot believe that we still live in a world where people think things like this are okay. Everybody turns into these Twitter tough guys. Everybody turns into these keyboard warriors and think they can say whatever the hell they want. And it's just not right. And that is why it is so important to be able to lift up the women that work in the sports media world, because there are still assholes like this guy that are so close-minded and don't know their elbow from their asshole. Casey is a person that loves the game of hockey. She studies the game of hockey. She loves sports. She is such an incredible person, and she doesn't deserve something like that. So we need to make sure that we're continuing to lift her up and support her, and that's just, it's no bueno, man. No bueno at all. We can't go for stuff like that. We see what the Buccaneers do and how inclusive they are. Same thing with the Rays, same thing with the Lightning. And to see that kind of thing, it just puts a pit in your stomach. It's just awful. we got to all be better, and we got to support our good friend, Casey Hudson. All right, let's bring in our guy. Can't wait to chat with him. It's the one and only Martin Gramatica, the Buccaneers legend. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you? I'm trying to set up my camera here. I was running a little late, so I'm like, man.
Nah, you're good, buddy. How are things over there, Clearview, man? I see a lot of great things going on.
Good, man. We're busy, helping people out, saving some lives here. It's incredible. We've been open 6 weeks, and we've already have a handful of testimonials of stuff that we've detected that where patients have saved, been saved by the scan. So yeah, it's been really cool to do.
Unbelievable, man. That's so great. And we'll continue to promote that message and help you get that word out for sure. You're definitely making a big impact and saving people's lives. And, we're talking about something a little bit less serious. We've been talking about football, even though it is our lives, right? Talking about the Bucs. And I mean, we'll start with Chase McLaughlin, man. The ability for him to kick that 65-yarder, Martin. I mean, it's just incredible. Longest outdoor field goal in the history. I mean, what can you say about a guy that the first couple of weeks, Todd Bowles kind of giving him the side eye, like, come on, bro, you're supposed to be my guy. But, man, he's bounced back in a big way in the last 2 weeks, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, and he's the nicest guy you'll ever meet, too. So I see him in the community. I run into him, in our area, and just like super humble, super, hard worker, family guy. So for him to do that, because you don't understand how many messages I get when the kicker struggles. And, oh, we need to get rid of the kicker, and we need to bring somebody else in, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, relax. Chase is good. Everybody goes to a little bit of up and down, and every now and then, especially with the preseason being a little shorter, maybe you don't have enough kicks and your rhythm's not ready. But Chase has had phenomenal career. I'm willing to say that he's the best kicker we've ever had. I mean, he's so consistent. That 65-yarder was incredible. It was nice to be able to call that kick with Santiago. I don't know if you saw the video I posted. We're like,
yeah,
it was so long you could see our heads turn and follow the ball because it took seconds for it because it was such a long kick, and we got fired up when it went through, because you always get excited, obviously, when the Bucs score, right? But when it's a nice guy like Chase, and a great guy like him, to break that record, I wish it would have been in one more yard. He would have had the NFL record, so it would have been cool.
No doubt about it. And Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, he made a comment about how the kicking balls were different this year. Did you hear anything about that? Did you know anything about that? And if you do, what are different about the kicking balls this year?
Well, I heard they're breaking them in, which, like, in our era, the kicking balls were going straight to the stadium, and ball boy had 30 minutes to break in the ball. So what we did, it was just have them try to get three of them as best they can. And then if you got the ball 4, then you were in trouble because that ball wasn't even touched. From what I hear, it's like they're breaking them in. I don't know how much. I don't know how good they are, but they are a little bit better than they used to be. But still, you can't take any credit away from a 65-yarder because everybody's kicking the same balls. I mean, Arbery's hit the 64-yarder. These guys are hitting long balls because I feel the training's different. The kid, right. the just the way they prepare their bodies to be kickers is different than what we did in the past. So the kickers are a lot stronger than we used to be.
When you say breaking in the balls, is it something that's similar across all of the teams? Is it something that's team specific? What are they doing to necessarily break in the balls?
Well, like, for example, every team breaks in the ball for their quarterback, depending on how they like it. They mud it, they brush it. If you take a brand new NFL ball out of the box, it's super hard. The pigskin is super tough, and it's hard to throw, hard to kick, hard to catch. So the quarterback's ball were always broken in. Now the kicking balls were separate. There was 12 balls that were separate that just for the kicking situations, and now they are able to break them in. I don't know how much time they get. I don't know how much they do, and I don't know. It's probably what I'm thinking is. The home team gets him for the week. From what I hear, and they can manipulate them as much as they want for that week and get them ready. So most kickers, they know what a nice ball is. So if I like it, I'm sure the opponent's going to like it. So it's not like I'm doing the ball for my taste and then the other team's going to hate it. As long as the ball's broken in, kickers are. It's different than a quarterback that has to hold it, grab it, and grip it. We're just kicking and hope that it flies farther, and that's what it does. It flies a little bit further when it's broken in.
What is the difference between a kicking ball and a regular ball that they use during the regular standard play?
Well, it's the same exact ball when it comes out of the box.
Okay.
the ones that they throw are the ones that they get to manipulate throughout the week for that
Okay,
particular
okay.
quarterback. You know,
Mhm.
Tom Brady liked it a certain way. Baker probably likes it a different
Right.
way, and each team has their own ball. So like the Bucks will throw the Buccaneer balls on offense. When the opponents on offense, they switch the balls out for their balls.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's pretty intricate, man. And it's one of those things that it's probably going to continue. And I think that goes back to the Deflategate thing, right? With Tom Brady and the balls and taking the air out of it. Like that people didn't really understand. I think if you're just a regular and just casual football fan, Martin, people probably don't know about this kind of stuff, right? Like they just don't think about it. It's not that they, you're any less of a fan, but I don't know how many people go into Raymond James Stadium on a Sunday and go, man, I wonder how they not doctored up. I wonder how they manipulated the balls this week.
Right. No, the game would be awful to watch if you're playing with brand new balls out of the box because it's hard to throw, hard to catch. They're hard, so yeah, and it makes the game more interesting because now the quarterback can put the ball wherever they want. And so, but every guy's different, and you have the maximum and minimum poundage that you can have. So it's not like it has to be exact. And then, so maybe, yeah, but at the end of the day, like what I really like about that Deflategate game is that Tom threw all the touchdowns after they inflated the ball. So it's like he could have been throwing loaves of bread. He still would have beat that team. So it's like, come on. They just, when you're successful and you're the greatest, they're going to find the stupidest thing to complain about.
No doubt about it, man. And I know for years, the backup quarterback was the holder, and then sometimes it was the punter, and now it's pretty much the punter pretty much every time. Yeah. It's not the backup quarterback, but and you would think that the punter is maybe in on some of the field goal stuff more than I want to ask you about the opposite. How much are you in on the punt stuff, right? Because if the punter's in there, as far as the cadence, as far as how you're handling the snap from the long snapper, how much are you paying attention to what the punter is doing and the long snapper? Because you are probably going to be the guy, if the punter goes down, to go back there and punt, right?
Yes, you are. But I mean, kickers pay zero attention to punt team because
okay.
I don't even know if punters pay attention to punt team, because like all you have to do is catch it and kick it, and then whatever direction it's going, and then the guys have to cover. So yeah, but so that it's really not the punter pays more attention to the field goal because he is the holder. So if there is any fakes or anything like that, but as far as like I don't remember ever like sitting there and taking notes during punt team, So
when you see, because you have a unique perspective, even though you saying that, you do have a unique perspective being a special teams guy. When you saw the punt getting blocked, and we saw it a couple weeks ago against Houston, right? Like you're like, man, they got close and then they got one. What did you see just from your, veteran eye of being a field goal kicker? What did you see on that block punt that, really kind of set the game off in the right direction for the Eagles last Sunday?
Right. No, I didn't get to see the replay. I mean, I just saw live, so it's kind of hard to see, but it looks like they came in with an all-out blitz, and when they come out with an all-out rush, it's hard because and I think possibly the long snapper may have jumped a little bit slow to get out. That's what kind of looked like. But it's hard for me to say because until you see the replay and go and dissect it, these guys are coming so fast and so hard that you don't know which gap he came from. But I'm assuming there was a miscommunication in a gap. It had to have been a gap. And again, once they get close and once the team blocks one, now everybody's going to target you because they're like, until you fix it, they're going to keep challenging you.
What was the biggest thing that led to field goals kicked during your career? Was it that kind of thing? It was just like a breakdown in the communication, a breakdown in the protection?
Yeah, most of the time. I mean, obviously the low trajectory, on a kick. I mean, that doesn't help. Or if you're too slow, like the operation time is huge. Like for field goal, like my perfect operation was 1.31. So in 1.31 seconds, that ball had to be out, and that's where I felt comfortable. I didn't feel rushed, but I wasn't too slow. So as long as we stayed in that, or a little bit faster, we were going to be fine. Because the edge rushers, if you go too slow, then the edge guys can get in. Now, if you go too fast, now it's going to throw me off, and the ball won't be down and ready. So you have to have that, and that's why you practice it so much. So as a kicker, there's some kickers that like to go a little bit faster than others. Some are closer than others, so the timing's a little bit quicker. My personal, I would leave when the holder would pick up his hand to go catch the ball. When he, because he points at the spot. Right. As soon as he goes to grab the ball, that's a signal for me to go. So I'm going before the ball's even put down. So then, by the time the ball's down, then my leg's kind of swinging. So it happens really fast. Like I said, 1.31 was my ideal time. That's where I felt comfortable.
And that's when you say 1-3-1, that's from snap to kick?
Yes. So as soon as the
Wow.
snap comes out to my foot hitting the ball, it's 1.31 seconds. Yeah.
So how did you figure out that time? Is you have a coach there just timing it out, and then you just keep kicking it, and then you just kind of do you balance the timing and the rhythm kind of thing?
Well, Joe Marciano he was my rookie year. We were, on the clock. So, and the way we figured out was 1-3-1 because my best kicks were at 1-3-1. So if I went too fast, then my hips would come around too fast and I'd probably pull the ball. And if I went too slow, then obviously the guys would get too close. So the 1-3-1 is where I felt smooth and we knew that the ball was going to come off on time. They couldn't get there on the edge. So, but yeah, you kind of, like I said, every kicker's different, but you play it, the more, and it wasn't like, record, like go faster, go slower, just to figure out what the time was. It's like, okay, that was your best kick, 1-3-1. Oh, 1-3-1, 1-3-1. It just kept hitting that 1-3-1 mark. Okay, that's your rhythm right there. So that now I knew that was my rhythm. But it wasn't like they were bugging you every kick. Not every kick you didn't have the clock on it.
No, yeah, but that makes sense though, because if you see a commonality of like, oh, around this time I'm kicking my best kicks, you can kind of work backwards that way. It makes a lot of sense. Buccaneers, it's going to be rough this weekend. Bucky Irving's in a boot today. He was on crutches today. It doesn't look like he's going to be in there on Sunday. But Seattle's a tough place. Everybody always talks about that 12th man. What do you remember about playing up there in the Pacific Northwest, and how does a place like that, how does a place that has a raucous home field advantage affect you in the kicking game?
Yeah, I personally never liked, West Coast games. Just the timing of it just throws everything off. So I didn't really like going to the West Coast. And I don't know if the Bucs are going to leave on Friday. Some teams do that. They leave on Friday and get that extra day. I don't know if the Bucs are or not. We did it with, I think we did it with Gruden one time. We didn't do it with Dungy. So every coach is a little different. And then Seattle's just a hard place to play because they're known for that 12th man, the sound, the loud. So it'll affect your offense. It affects your play calling because you have to now signal stuff and you're not going to be able to hear. So the home field advantage, it's big when you have a crowd that's as loud as the Seattle's crowd, and they're known for that. They're even known for that in the soccer stadium.
Yeah, Seattle Sounders, man, and Portland Timbers up there, they are crazy. And it's just, when you look at this team right now, Martin, what's the one thing that you want to see from the Buccaneers on Sunday against Seattle, knowing that they're dealing with a bunch of injuries? Jamel Dean's probably going to be out. We don't know about Benjamin Morrison, and I just mentioned Bucky Irving, and we know Mike's not, going to be back for another game or two. What are you looking for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team going to a tough place to play, obviously dealing with all these guys injured?
Well, the next man up, that's the thing that you have to see, because we know we have a really good team. We have, obviously, with Baker carrying. I mean, the guy's incredible. I love the way he plays, and I think everybody in Tampa does as well. But then you have all these guys that we know who our leaders are. We know who we can't miss, and obviously missing Mike. Obviously, we did a great job with Tristan Wirth and Godwin out, and the guy stepped up and played good football. But now having different injuries, Jamel Dean's going to be a huge loss because he's been doing a great job. And so now it's the next man up mentality, which every coach talks about that. Any team you've ever been on, it's like you always have to prepare as if you were the starter, because it takes 1 second and you're the starter. So hopefully these guys are ready and they can step in and we don't miss a beat, because that's the thing. We've been playing. I mean, every game's been close. I mean, there hasn't been, we thought we could breathe a little bit against the Jets, and then all of a sudden, like, we're a last second drive having to go score to win the game. So we know we're going to be in for some tough games, and that's just the identity of this team. Nothing's easy, and we're just going to fight till the end. So these young guys that are stepping in for the injured players need to have that same mentality so we don't lose a beat.
Yeah, hanging out on Sunday over at Ian's place with he and Tony Mayberry, and we're talking about injuries, and they're just looking at me. They go, Jay, as much as the people on the outside talk about injuries, like, we can't talk about injuries in the locker room. Like, it's got to be the next guy up. It sounds so cliche, and I know it probably makes people mad. Next man up next month, but he's like, we can't worry about everybody else. We can't worry about the guys that aren't there. Like, we got to go out there and play. So it's like it's a refreshing insight from those guys. And we got to look at Nathan Elliott, one of our big viewers here. Hello, Martin. Keep kicking, Nico. And I was talking to you the other day, and Nico loves warming up with the soccer ball before the game. And just tell all of our viewers here why he does that to get himself ready for the game. And was that something that you ever did, or was it just strict football for you?
Well, I would have loved to have been able to bring a soccer ball. I think the NFL is much more open in college as well for guys to have their own warm up, their own process. They call it the process. Back then, we typically most of us didn't have a process. We did whatever the coaches said. Hey, we're warm up at this time. We're warm up at that time. You kick this many balls. You kick now. Because everybody has individual coaches in the off season, or or these young kids are getting kicking training earlier. Nico grew up playing soccer, so now obviously that makes it a big difference. Him wanting to kick the soccer ball around, but for him it's more just getting his legs under him. Just getting everything moving, the muscles moving, activating the left leg, because that's one thing. We're using our also activate the left leg, and that's what the soccer ball does for him. Just get everybody his whole body warmed up, and then he can just start focusing on kicking after that.
And they're a big Friday night game for them. So looking forward to some conference play for the Bulls and seeing if they can ride the wave after just an incredible. I mean, what was that like, man, to be able to see him kick that ball and win the game in the swamp against the Gators? Like that had to be an incredible. I was yelling. I was going crazy. A lot of people put my video. I was in West Palm Beach with the baseball families. There was like 50 kids and 100 family members out there, and we're all cheering for the Bulls in West Palm Beach, and we're like yelling for Nico. Like, what was that like, man? That was incredible.
That was incredible. Yeah. So my wife and I was traveling with the Bucks for that game, and we're watching it on an iPad in the hotel room, and we had a dinner to go to for the Sweet Holders trip, and I just kept texting him, it's going to be a little bit longer. It's going to be a little bit longer. Finally, I said, look, we're not going until the game's over. So,
I love that.
Yeah. So we obviously super nervous before the kick and then extremely excited afterwards. But it was cool to watch. And not just for Nico, for the whole team. Those guys have worked so hard, because before the season started, you heard, they're going to go in 3. They play three big games, and then they have to win out. I'm saying, I wouldn't, don't relax on USF. These guys are working their butts off. I see it every day. I know what time Nico leaves the house. I know what time he gets home, and it's not just him. His whole team's doing the same thing. So, and I know how much Coach Golish is putting into it with his coaching staff. So I said they're gonna surprise some people, and sure enough, they did. They're just playing really good football. And I love the way Golish is coaching these guys to be held accountable. And they build a brotherhood. They're building a brotherhood in an era that's super hard to do that as a college coach because of the portal. But these guys care about each other, and they play like they care about each other. They play for each other. And that's huge. That's huge to be able to do that.
All right, before I let you go, I got a random question, because I saw this yesterday and I was thinking of you. Who is the best Argentinian football player of all time, not named Messi or Maradona? That's a good one, buddy. That's a good one.
Everybody's ranking Di Maria. Di Maria.
I know. See, for me, I'm like for Di Maria, I saw all the great things that he did. Then he goes to Manchester United, and he was terrible. And then he left, and he was great again. So I mean,
he didn't like the weather in Manchester. That's what he said.
I don't blame him.
Did you see his documentary? He didn't like the weather there. No, but Di Maria would be one of them. I loved Riquelme from Boca, Ortega from River. Those are great. And then Batistuta. How can you not say Batistuta? Yeah. So it's hard to pick one, because you have the two elites, and then you have that second tier right behind them. So, but yeah. So I would say Di Maria, after all he's accomplished with the Copa Americas and then the World Cup, and he's went back to the to Argentine League now and is tearing it up. I mean, at his age. So yeah, he's elite. He's probably with that third.
And then Emi Martinez, man. Emi Martinez. He's got to throw himself in there as well. I mean,
you got him. When are you guys going to sign him? I'm like, I keep hearing
No, we're not getting him. We got Sen Lamin, some young 22-year-old from Royal Antwerp. I wanted somebody with some experience. What is it? I mean, to have a goalie like that, like Emi Martinez, man, just that confidence. I mean, just makes your team so much better.
It's like having a kicker like Chase that can give you a 65-yarder when you need it. No, but that gives the whole team confidence, knowing that, okay, we make some mistakes, but he's going to make some great saves. And then same with your kicker. We're in field goal range when we get to the 40, because I mean, not only did he get a 65-yarder, he hit a 58-yarder. And made it look easy. So those type of plays and those type of players give your whole team confidence, knowing that, look, we've got somebody in the back that can make some great saves when we need them.
Clearviewimaging.com. Looking at the website right now, man. Go check it out, man. You never know. It like Martin just said, save people's lives, man. It really can. That early detection, you may think, okay, something may feel a little bit off. Don't take it for granted, man. We only have one life to live. So clearviewimaging.com. Go check it out today. And tell them that you heard it right here with Martin on the Recher podcast. You're the best, my friend. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Good talking to you.
It, buddy. Yes, sir. Go Bucks.
Bye. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks, go Bulls, go everybody. With our pal Martin Gramatica, he's the man. Again, Clearview Imaging. Again, looking up the website, saving people's lives, man. You just, again, my dad would always say it. You only have one life, man. You only have one body. Take care of yourself. You just never know. You really don't. Life is too short. All right, we have a star-studded show today, and we're gonna keep the stars coming. This is like the galaxy out here. The man, the myth, the legend, Rich Hollenberg joining us on.
Where do I find my checkbook?
Hey, last night? It's this I'm very fortunate how like certain things happen to me in my life, and I don't know how it happens, but people drop things in the day before I see somebody, or I say, I wish I saw this person. 5 minutes later, they show up. Bro, I saw something yesterday about like a Bruce Springsteen documentary or a movie, or did you hear anything about this?
Dude, where have you been?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not, again, from back in the day, I don't hate, because he's one of those polarizing guys, right? He's one of those polarizing guys where people don't like Bruce, and I'm just like, I'm definitely not in the group. And then people are huge fans like yourself. I would lean more towards, being a fan than not at all. But it came up on my phone. We didn't, when I texted you last night, we didn't talk about Bruce Springsteen. We didn't say anything about it. I didn't even think about it. And then it was one of those things that came up, and I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man. You must have, the phones know better than us, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what am I missing here?
Okay, so you are going for the next month, you're going to be inundated with those types of posts, because it was announced a year ago that Jeremy Allen White, who is the star of Bear, former star of Shameless. If you don't know Shameless, you should watch it. It's awesome. He is playing Bruce Springsteen in a movie called Deliver Me From Nowhere. And it's now making the rounds at all the film festivals. It was at the Telluride Film Festival. Now it's at the New York Film Festival.
Wow.
So, being that you're a New Yorker like I am, maybe that's how it bled into your algorithm. But the fact is that it's been long awaited. It is not going to be for every Bruce Springsteen fan, let alone every casual music fan, because it's not a biopic. It is a window into maybe a 2 or 3 period era of his growth as a musician. And it's not what made him so famous, and it's not all the hit songs. It comes from a very specific period in time, which actually happened to be right before he recorded all the songs that would then become Born in the USA, which launched him into mega stardom. And that's where everybody, myself included, to be honest with you, really discovered Bruce in the mid-'80s, 1984 to be specific. So we could spend the entire time talking about this, because I can very easily. All you need to know is, from what I've heard and all I'm hearing is from people who are fans, of course. But apparently Jeremy Allen White did an absolutely amazing job. Every time I've seen clips and previews of the movie, I keep thinking, I hope the lip syncing is going to be good.
Right.
What I understand, there is no lip syncing.
Oh,
it's
wow.
Jeremy Allen White singing in concert, in a bedroom as he's recording this album, Nebraska, and that's what the movie focuses on. Bruce recorded this album called Nebraska in his bedroom with one other person in the room, and that was it. And it's part of that process. It's why he did that. It has a lot of flashbacks, too, so there's a young Bruce Springsteen in there. It talks about his relationship with John Landau, who was the person who wrote the article, I've Seen the Future of Music, and his name is Bruce Springsteen, when he was on the cover of Time and Newsweek at the same time, which
Wow.
never happened back then. So it's supposed to be an incredible look into a very specific period of time in Bruce Springsteen's life and recording life.
I'm gonna have to check that out. No doubt about it, man. That's gonna be awesome.
I'm counting the days already.
But who's counting, right? Who's counting? Speaking of incredible looks, I think we got an incredible look into the future of our Tampa Bay Rays, seeing what Junior Caminero has been able to do in the 2025 season, Rich. And he's just somebody asked me before the season, are you worried about all the pressure that is going to be on his shoulders to be able to do what he can do? And I go, no. And they said, really? And I go, there's certain people, they were just born for this stuff. They were born for the spotlight. We saw it. Listen, you don't perform as well you do down in Puerto Rico and the Dominican and those leagues. Like, those leagues are the cream of the crop during the winter. And he was one of the best players, if not the best player, playing for Albert Winnie the Pujols down there. And I just, the sky's the limit for this young man. And you saw it in the home run derby. You saw it in the All-Star game. Like, it's super exciting, Rich, to be able to see what he was able to do this year. Is that priority one for this new ownership crew? And Erik Neander is like, hey, we got to figure out a way to sign this guy, because I mean, that's, we have apprehension here in the Bay Area of, like, you're developing these stars and then they have their prime somewhere else. I think, seeing what we've seen, man, it's like, I know there's a little buyer beware because of what happened to the guy who shall not be named, but man, Junior's got to be a part of this team going forward, doesn't he?
First of all, I don't shy away from using the guy whose name will not be named. The reason why I don't think they're going to lock up Junior Caminero right away has nothing to do with Junior Caminero. It has everything to do with Wander Franco.
Okay.
They had so much invested and so much tied into Wander, going back to, I think, as early as when he was 13 years old. They don't have that same connective tissue, if you will, as they did with Wander, as they do now with Junior. Junior came up in Cleveland's ranks, not with the Tampa Bay Rays organization. But that aside, my biggest concern writ large is, and we're going to find this out in short order, when Patrick Zalewski steps behind a microphone and addresses the questions. Obviously, the first question is going to be, when's the new stadium getting built and where is it? Mm-hmm. The second question is going to be player salaries and the budget that he's working under. Now, behind closed doors and without any additional inside information, because if I had it, I would share it with you, Jay, but I don't. In my circles, what we are concerned with is, so this guy just paid $1.7 billion for the team, not for the team and the stadium,
just
for
the
team. So he's going to have to fork over some other huge amount of money. Now, what's our guess? We all have the same guess. He's going to be partnering with Tampa. Tampa's going to put some type of penny tax, hotel tax, tourist tax, whatever, to help fund this as well. But he's going to be putting easily 8-figure numbers together to get a stadium built. And hopefully that happens starting right now. I mean, it has to start, meaning shovels in the dirt, in December, for us to have a prayer of watching the Rays play baseball in a brand new stadium in 2029. And that's when it has to happen. So I personally, as a fan and as someone who has ties to the team, is concerned, or curious, should I say. How is that going to affect the next few years of roster salaries and roster management? Now, the easy answer is, we haven't made the playoffs the last 2 years. I think there could be some lean years ahead for the Tampa Bay Rays. And you build and you build and you build up to, okay, we're in 2029 off-season or 2028 off-season. April of 2029, we are moving into this brand new stadium. We need to make a splash. Excuse me. And the splash is going to be paying through the nose for a big-time free agent, locking up someone like Junior Caminero, who has come into the system. I'm not saying they won't lock up Junior long-term well before then. I anticipate that happening.
Mm-hmm.
But what my point is, and my curiosity is going to be, is how much is Zalupski and his team going to be able to fortify the budget of player salaries when they are also having to plan for paying for a brand new stadium, which is going to cost in excess of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things that I read in Mark Topkins' article from the Tampa Bay Times is that there is an option to have a year extension on Tropicana Field. So if, ideally we want that in 2029, the new stadium. But if we don't get shovels in the ground, and that's something that it's almost a taboo phrase here in the Tampa Bay area, right? I'll believe it when there's shovels in the ground, right? I don't know if there's other cities around the country that phrase scares more people than here in the 813 and the 727. But when I hear you say that, and I read what Mark reports, and we have yet to hear from Zalupski, we don't know when. I mean, do we think that there are going to be shovels in the ground? What's that?
It'll be within the week.
Yeah. If he doesn't have shovels in the ground in the next 2 months, then I think it's fair to say that, they would probably exercise a year extension to stay at the Trop for one more year. But if that's the case, then the next 10 months, right, Rich? Like the next 10 months has to be a fact-finding endeavor. We have to get into a situation of, as much as everybody wants it in Tampa, there's a clear reason why it was in the Pinella side and the St. Pete side. Does the conversation reopen with the St. Pete Mayor Ken Welch? Because he was a guy that was really, he was a defender of Stu, and he, at the end, I felt bad for Ken, because I've talked to him in person, I've talked to him on air, and he was carrying a lot of the weight and carrying a lot of the company lines outside of the Rays for Stu Sternberg. And then at the end, he looked like a scorn lover, and I felt bad for the guy, because he pretty much laid his legacy on the line to try to get a stadium here, and now he's got to be kind of like a good soldier, like, hey, we do what we can, we support the team in the region. Does that change with Patrick Zalupski? I don't necessarily know, but I just, Rich, and I love that you're here with me, because I want people, because me, I'm in the baseball, I'm coaching 3 teams, I'm out on the field 5 days a week. I just want people to be proud of baseball in the Tampa Bay area. I don't want people to look at the Rays as the little sisters of the poor, or the little engine that could, and we're always punching above our weight and stuff like that. Like, there's great baseball here, man. We're watching, the Pete Alonsos of the world and Kyle Tuckers of the world and Parker Messick coming up, a kid that I coached again, the kid that I've known since he was 8 years old, pitching for Cleveland. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, are we ever going to get to that phase, brother? Are we ever going to get to that phase? Like, it's got to be a new, like, I'm not asking us to be the Yankees here. I'm not asking us to be the Mets or the Dodgers or the Red Sox, but just give me a top 14 payroll. Just give me a 30,000 seat stadium and give me a team that competes. I don't feel like that's too much to ask for.
Well, you can ask all you want. One thing
Right.
you're not going to get, Jay, and I hate to rain on your parade, you're not going to get a 30,000 seat stadium.
Right.
You'll get a 25,000 seat stadium,
Mm-hmm.
and the hope is that is filled more often than it's not.
Right.
Now, I've always said, and I end up sounding like a Tampa Bay sports apologist, but how can we not? We live and work in this area.
Right.
I've lived in my same house for the last 25 years. All 3 of my kids have been born and raised in this area and are Rays fans and Lightning fans and Bucks fans. So I want all of those things. But what I think has been proven time and time again, and it is not, and this is where I am, a St. Pete apologist. All the people who turn down their nose at St. Petersburg, all the people who live in Tampa and say, oh, it should have been in Tampa all along, that's the reason nobody shows up. BS. I don't know if I can curse on your podcast, but I'm not going.
You're a good man.
That is bull. Okay? We will have, and when I say we, I don't mean the media, I don't mean you and me, I mean we as a sporting community will still have the same attendance issues when a new stadium gets built in Tampa. So you can come right at me and challenge me on social media if you want. Be a barking dog and try to be the loudest voice in the room and tell me I'm crazy. But I know we will have these same issues to whatever degree wherever this stadium is built. If you build it on the water, right in between Tampa and St. Pete and Clearwater, and make it easy access for everybody, and run hydrofoils,
Yeah.
you'll still have the same issues. Why? Because we are a transient community.
Mhm.
I moved here from out of town. You moved here from out of town. Now, here is the magic. We are now part of the next generation of sports fans. So
Right.
my kids don't know a world without
Mhm.
Rays baseball. It started in 1998. You fast forward, that's 28 years ago. So those 28-year-olds who were born when the Rays were born are now married and having children.
Right.
It is a generational proposition, Jay. And now we're at the point, finally, where we could reap the fruits of that labor, of all that time invested. Now, I feel bad because Stu's not going to get to live through that
Right.
in most ways.
Do you think he knew that, Rich? Do you think he had that feeling too?
Absolutely think he
But he
knew
never
that.
really said that, and I brought it up a lot, and I felt like it was the one thing that he never really said. That I don't know if it would have helped him at all, because it would have just came off as maybe people thinking it was an excuse.
He is
People
for
would- yeah.
all the decisions that people hated him for, those were business decisions. He is
Right.
a super sharp businessman.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, what did him in was the fact that he loves the sport.
Yeah.
And he thought of it through the lens of a sports fan's eyes.
Mhm.
And so those two things are usually at odds with each other. And at the end of the day, the business side won out. He only wanted to move the team to Tampa because that was a bargaining chip, right?
Right.
And he couldn't get it done because Tampa wouldn't play ball with him. He wanted to keep it in St. Pete because that was his last option in his eyes to keep baseball in Tampa Bay. So I applaud Stu for all the reasons that everybody has been the last few weeks when he got
Right.
this send-off that really no owner ever gets, let alone someone who has been raked over the coals like Stu has over the last 20 years, unfairly most of the time. But the fact that he is now not going to be able to reap the benefits of all the of all the work that's been put in and all of the blood, sweat, and tears and equity that he's put into building this franchise so that it remains this way forevermore, from generation to generation to generation, is sad. You can hate him all you want. I know Stu. He's a good dude. I run into him a couple of times a week when I'm running or walking along the water in St. Pete. Like, he is a good dude. And if you don't think he is, then screw you, because you don't know him. And you
But
are
how do you balance that out, Rich? Because I've seen both sides, right? Because I've interviewed him. I've gotten along very well with Stu. Like, I always tell people, like, he's not a bad guy at all. Like, he's very nicely, and I ask him tough questions and he answers them. You may not like the answer, but Stu's never shied away from a tough question from me, from T-Crass, from anybody else asking them in the Bay Area. And we see the articles written about how good he is to his employees and things like that. But you still have thousands of people, Rich. This isn't a vocal minority. There's a lot of people that, whether they dislike him or they could do without him, and they're rejoicing in the fact that there's a new ownership thing. So,
Ross, let me interrupt. They're rejoicing because they think things are now going to change, and we're going to magically become a big market team with an unlimited budget. And that is just not the case.
Well, I'm sure some people think that. I'm sure some people think that, Rich, but I don't know if all people think that. Like, the baseball people I'm around, I think they know the baseball people, maybe not the radicals that are always, oh yeah, we'll get a rate. But I know the baseball people, the guys that live and breathe and have dirt under their fingernails because they've been throwing BP to their sons 4 days a week. Those people just want them to have some semblance of a mediocre payroll, right? Just give me something in the 14s, 15s, right? And for all the talk about he's great to his employees, I understand that, but I look at it as a restaurant. If you're the head chef, you own the restaurant, you're great to all your chefs, you're great to all your servers, but the people in the restaurant, the food's okay, the food can be okay, but maybe some of the food, maybe some of the people didn't like the food. Maybe some of the people didn't really love the experience, and people aren't going back to the restaurant. Like, I feel like it's such a complicated legacy, because I don't think that it's all the radicals and all the people out there. Because listen, Stu came on the air with me one time, was talking about, I'm taking a loss on my P&L statement. Like, people don't want to hear that after dealing with a hurricane from a guy that's worth, $1 billion, right? And also the plan, but then the Montreal plan too, right? The Montreal plan where he sits there dead in my face and he goes, Jay, this is the only way we can keep baseball here. If we don't do this, baseball's somebody gone. Well, he's leaving now, and baseball's still here.
Public relations problem.
Right.
His biggest challenge has always been conveying a heartfelt message, albeit one that not everybody would want to hear, to the public, and having it be digested and accepted and understood. And I don't know if there are any, and if there are, it's a very small number of owners who have that kind of a relationship with their fan base, because the family owners who have owned the team for generations, just like there are fans for generations, don't exist anymore. It's all corporatized.
Right.
Wrigley is not owned by a family anymore. Fenway is not owned by a family anymore. The Dodgers aren't owned by a family anymore. So that is, revisionist history at this point. My point is, let's all be realists about this. Don't bitch about low attendance if you're going to 3 games a year.
Yeah.
Don't be part of the problem.
Great point.
Here's the other thing. Stu, even though he, in my opinion, not knowing all the facts, misguidedly cried poor mouth, and that's what drew the ire of so many people.
Right.
Attendance money, revenue from attendance is this big in an owner's pocketbook. There are so many other revenue streams that are so much more lucrative for him that attendance amounts to little when it comes to Stu, and it will amount to little when it comes to Patrick Zalewski. Now, do they want the stadium filled? Of course they do, because the optics would be great. But take a look around Major League Baseball. Not now, because every game's sold out. It's a playoff game.
Well, Cleveland yesterday. Did you see Cleveland, the picture?
No.
Oh, man, there was a picture in the stands, and they were like, well, maybe we shouldn't be so hard on the Trop because there was a game in the middle of the day in Cleveland. And that's a pretty, they have their ups and downs with attendance. And people were like, man, maybe we should be a little bit easier on the people in St. Pete.
I say it all the time. I watch more baseball than most people because it's my job to. Right. And I see night in and night out, outside of Wrigley and Fenway and Dodger Stadium and maybe Yankee Stadium, I see not just some empty seats. I see swaths of empty sections across every major league stadium. I would even throw San Diego in there as well. They have tremendous attendance. But outside of that, you pick any baseball team in any stadium on a random Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, night or day, and you're going to see the same thing and be like, oh, that's kind of like what it's like going to a Rays game. Right. So don't kid yourself and think that it's an attendance issue, and now building a new stadium in Tampa is going to solve that issue. A, it's not an issue. And B, it's not going to solve an attendance issue at all. We're going to get, hopefully, a bump from 12,000 people at a game. It would be great to say we can get 20,000 people. Right. But now, with a 22 or 24,000 seat stadium, 18 to 20,000 packed into that size stadium looks amazing and gives you a true home field advantage. Anything out, building a 30 or 35,000 seat stadium is fool's gold, because you're never going to come close to even filling it halfway. So why build it? Build a small stadium, make it intimate, make the fan experience great, and then the most important thing is build the infrastructure around it. And that development has now become the blueprint for success as owners in baseball.
Right. The capacity, I think, is huge, right? If you build a 27.5 or 28,000 stadium or 25, like you said, and you fill out 85%, 90% of it's going to look a lot different than having 8,000 or 10,000 in a park that's 30, 40,000, no doubt about it. MLB playoffs, I want to ask you before we let you go, who you got, man? You got to pick one team to win the World Series. Who you think it is?
Oh, one team.
Other than the Dodgers. Who's going to challenge the Dodgers? I'm watching them last night oh, God.
No, that looked like the Dodgers that they haven't looked like for most of this season, Jay.
They've been sandbagging us, brother.
Baseball team most of the season, but now they've got Blake Snell healthy. Now Tyler Glasnow could possibly come out of the bullpen. How freaking scary is that for the opposition? They are now starting to fire on all cylinders. So they're definitely in play. If I had to pick one team, I really like the Phillies. And the only reason I pick the Phillies is because I know what they're missing. And even though they've been without their ace, Zach Wheeler, for a while now, I still can't picture them. I can't picture any baseball team winning without its ace. That's why I don't think the Yankees stand a chance. I really don't.
Right.
And that's not because they lost yesterday at home to the Red Sox. I think they could still win that series, whatever. Losing someone like Garrett Cole is such a huge loss. There are not aces in baseball anymore. And Garrett Cole is one. And Zach Wheeler is another one. But you can count on one hand how many true aces there are. And you need that in playoff baseball if you want to survive in advance. Because when you get to 7-game series, that guy's pitching almost half of those games if you need him to. 1, 4, 7. He's going out there for you. And now the Phillies don't have that. Now, they still have other great pitchers. And I think that offense is stacked. And I think that home field advantage really matters. But I'm thinking it's going to be the Mariners and the Phillies in the World Series, and I'm taking the Phillies to win.
Yeah, it's going to be good, man. I'm with you with the Phillies. I like the bravado. I like the swagger, and I like guys with proven playoff and postseason pedigree with Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber and the Trey Turner addition, obviously, a couple of years ago with the speed at the top of the lineup. And then Duran. Getting Duran was a huge pickup, shutting it down. Before I let you go, break in, breakthrough, your latest cohort. Let everybody know how they can find you. RichHollenberg.com. You're doing great stuff with the next generation of broadcasters, my friend.
Thank you, Jay. You know, I always appreciate that. We have one more cohort coming up this year. It starts in less than 2 weeks, October 12th. And then I try to shut it down once we get into December, but it never really stops. We have some really, really big plans for 2026 that are under wraps right now, but I'm in the process of refreshing my website. And once I finish that, you can go to my website and find out all the exciting news. But if you want to sign up, if you know someone who's an aspiring sportscaster and really wants the inside scoop on how to be their best, I still have a couple of spots left for the October 12th cohort. And then that's it for 2025.
RichHollenberg.com, at Rich Hollenberg on all social media platforms. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the #1 Bruce Springsteen fan that you and I both know and always makes our show a whole heck of a lot better. Rich, appreciate your time, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the week. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Jay. You're the best.
You got it, buddy. The one and only Rich Hollenberg. That is what you want to hear. Listen, everything when it came to the Rays there. Junior Caminero, the team, the stew, the stadium, a little bit of everything. And also, Rich is saying stuff there. And again, I've heard a lot more good things about people in the know about Stu Sternberg than bad things, right? But one thing that you heard from Rich right there could be some lean years ahead for the Rays over the next couple of years. Nobody really wants to talk about that. Nobody really wants to say it. That's something to certainly be cognizant of going forward. Real quick, I want to talk to you guys about our big partners here on the program. Let me pull this up real quick before we get to our guy, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. The new custom home. Listen, if you got a plot of land, you're trying to build your house from the ground up. You saw it. I posted the pictures on my social media. It is just absolutely incredible what Russ and the team do. They go out there and they make sure that they give everything that you want. And people have an indoor soccer room. Like, can you imagine that? If we had an indoor hockey room growing up, that would have been insane. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, thehonesthammer.com, honesthammer@gmail.com. Give them a shout today. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Recher podcast, and you get a discount. All your residential and commercial needs. You're looking for kitchen and bathroom renovations. They can take care of you. You want to make sure if you're working on your house that you're going to work with people that you trust. Russ and the crew there. Not this weekend because, well, give him a shout. He'll answer the phone when he's up there doing his golf thing there in South Carolina. Tell him that you heard it right here on the Recher podcast. And then EverHealth, our injury report every Thursday at 12:30. I was at the campus yesterday. Incredible. They can take care of you from the cradle to the grave. They're delivering kids there. They're dealing with any type of issue that you have, dentistry, dealing with your family. You want to go to school. They have an ability to go. It's almost like a trade school. They have the EverHealth Institute there where there's a bunch of different, I wrote it down here. I wanted to make sure that I had it for you guys today. All the different things that you can go there and learn. You can be a medical assistant, a dental assistant, behavioral health technician, a radiation technician, a pharmacy technician. All the stuff is right there. And then you can work there. It's not your last resort. It's your first resort. And the great thing about it is that there is no insurance that they don't take. There's a sliding fee for the uninsured from like $25 copay to a $65 copay. And a lot of times when you're dealing with something like that, people think, oh, it's like a free clinic. This is not one of those free clinic type places. This is clean as a whistle. This is the EverHealth system. They are insane. The largest Medicaid dealer takers in Pinellas County. They want Medicaid. They want Medicare. They want to be there for you. I love it. I'm actually going to start going there. Like, it's that legit. And it's so nice. Everything is all on campus. You get prescribed something, boom, the pharmacy is right there. You don't even have to go to your local CVS or your Walgreens. It's going to blow up, EverHealth. I'm telling you right now, we're getting there on the ground floor. It took 10 years to get here. The next 10 years are going to be phenomenal. So just trust me, EverHealth. I'm a blessing, an absolute blessing to be able to be joined up with them. And you're going to start hearing them more and more and more here in the Tampa Bay area. All right, let's bring him in. Talk all things Bolts. It's our guy, Erik Erlendsson, lightninginsider.com. Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D. What's going on, buddy boy? How are you?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
I'm good, man. We had a star-studded affair today with Martin Gramatica, Rich Hollenberg here, the closer. Now the Mariano Rivera, the star-studded affair with the spoons in the background. The Bolts are 5-0 in the preseason, brother. And listen, I know you can't always, in any sport, you can't necessarily take the preseason and think it's going to directly correlate to the regular season. But I know for years, the Baltimore Ravens have like the most incredible preseason record over the last 12, 15 years with John Harbaugh there. And they're good almost every year. It can't be a bad thing, right? I don't think in any way it could be a bad thing. And it isn't necessarily, a forecasting a Stanley Cup winning season. But there's got to be something to be said about guys that are feeling good, playing good. And for the first time, we've seen probably in the last I don't know how far back you can answer this question. I think there's some really tough questions to be answered when it comes to this roster. You and I were going over it the other night. And it's not because guys can't play. It's because guys can play. How do you feel about this team in the preseason? How do you think it's going to translate? What do you think about those tough roster choices?
Well, I'll start with this. Every time I think about preseason and how things go in a preseason, I think back to the year that the Detroit Lions went 0-16. They went 4-0 in preseason. So just take that with a grain of salt.
True.
However, having said that, and look, I mean, if you look at the rosters that the Lightning have gone up against, with the exception of the game in Nashville where, Stamkos played, Marchessault played, Roman Josi played, Brady Shea was in the lineup. That's about the most NHL players they faced in a lineup. So, I don't want to get too caught up in the results of the preseason, but I think what you see and, when Coop said the other night how this training camp and this group of players, like everybody feels like they've bought into what the organization is trying to accomplish and how they want to go about accomplishing. The big thing is you've seen a compete level, I think, from just about everybody that's been in the lineup, from a Caleb Heel, who played the one period in Nashville and was really good in that game, to guys like Boris Kachuk and Jack Finley, who were vying for spots, and the Gonsalveses and the Bjorkstrands and the Radishes and the guys that have been in the lineup on a somewhat regular basis here through 5 games. And with all that, I think the one thing that you can take from finding ways to win these games in the preseason is winning habits can form in the preseason. Especially in hockey, where, like, what have we not seen a lot of this postseason or this preseason? Turnovers, right? Now, again, they're not being pressured by the David Pasternaks of the world. I get it. But you're not seeing a lot of, like, oh my gosh, what kind of a play was that? A couple here and there that you're going to see. And, you'll probably see some of that early in the season as teams try and work that out. But we haven't seen a ton of that in the preseason. And I think those are positive signs moving forward, because it has created an atmosphere of inter-team competition. For the first time in a while, there's a handful of guys that you say could and arguably should start the season here with the Lightning, and they're not going to, because there's only so many open roster spots you can have. The Nick Paul injury opens up an opportunity for an extra forward. I feel that they're going to carry 14 forwards into the start of the regular season and 7 defensemen. We'll see how that sort of shakes out, but it has created this opportunity for some guys to kind of open up some eyes. And I think, from Boris Kachuk, who, we thought when he signed in July 1, that's a nice depth signing. No, he's in the conversation for a roster spot. Jacob Peltier has looked really good in his 3 games here in preseason. Jack Finley is showing some of the more subtle parts of his game that I think the Lightning are probably going to need and everything else. So there's a lot of competition that's going to go on. And, there's only 2 more preseason games. And I expect these last 2 preseason games, you're going to see a few more of the regulars, especially probably Saturday's game down in Sunrise.
So who's got out of those guys you just mentioned? And I know Stahoviak is a guy and Dominic James is a guy. I mean, that's 5 guys right there that, can contribute to this team. And we're not mentioning Cooch and Point and Gensel and Hagel and Sorelli and all these other guys, right? Who out of those guys do you think has the leg up? Is it Finley because he's been in the system, the size, the trust that they have putting him out there late in the game on the 5-on-3 and winning faceoffs? Is it Jack Finley and then maybe one other guy, you think?
I think Finley is as close to a lock as you can be for a couple of factors. Number one, I think he's earned it, right? He's out there killing 5-on-3 power plays against. He's taking draws in the defensive zone. He's setting screens in front of the net. Those are the subtle things that you kind of talk about with a guy like Finley, who's just like, I'm not even sure he has a point in his 3 preseason games to this point. But that's okay in some ways, in terms of what he's trying to showcase himself for. But I think with all those things I said, I think he's earned it. And the business does play a factor into this. He would have to go on waivers. And there are 31 other teams that would see a 6'6" right-hand shot centerman on waivers. Right. I think 31 teams would try and put a claim in for him. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily because he's a huge difference maker, but he is somebody that at the age of 22, 23, that you would put on your roster, right? Because he has a lot of potential in the intangibles that he can bring. I mean, the size, especially, it would be too enticing. So I in my mind, I don't envision a scenario where Jack Finley is not on this roster to start the regular season. After that, it gets a little murky. I think you could make a case for Stahoviak, who was coming over from playing in Germany the last number of years. He's been a sort of a mainstay on the German national team the last couple of years. A lot of projection have him on the German Olympic team.
Is he one of those guys? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Is he one of those guys where, like, I think we know, like, where everybody's at, and I think we kind of know where a lot of people's, like, ceilings are, and we kind of know Boris Kachuk, and maybe he's a little higher. We know with Dylan Duke. I feel like Stahoviak's one of those guys where, like, we may not know how high he can go up the lineup. Is it fair in saying that?
Yeah, I think it is because he's still an unknown.
Yeah, like he
right?
could be like if we get to a point where it's like, and again, it could be down the road. Like it's like Hagel, Cirelli, and Stahoviak. He's 26. He's a pro. He already is a pro. I asked John Cooper about him. He's like, you can already tell he's a pro. So we look at some of these guys, and just because there's the last guys making the roster, doesn't necessarily they're going to be a fourth line guy. Like I think Stahoviak, if he plays up to the potential, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised after watching what we've seen so far if he's a middle six guy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because he is the unknown. Like there's a lot of questions you still have about him. I think he's answered a lot of them. I would have wanted him to kind of stand out again a little bit last night in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't quite see. He had a couple of opportunities. He took some shifts between Gonçalves and Bjorkstrand in the second period. I did notice on one play he was channeling his inner Pavel Bure because he was at the far blue line and the puck was still back down in the other end. So those things kind of, are not necessarily in his favor, but there's a lot to like about his game. He's a smart player. I mean, that's the first thing that you notice is some of the plays he makes that are smart plays. Pulled 2 pucks off the wall and got him to the middle quickly. That have led to goals in a couple of situations. So he is certainly in that mix. He does not require waivers, even though he's 26 years old, but he is on his entry-level deal because he's never signed a contract in North America. Boris Tkachuk, again, we didn't think he would be somebody that was knocking on the door, but, I big story up on him today and about how he's kind of not necessarily reinvented himself, but, he didn't have an NHL contract last year. He was invited to Anaheim's camp on a PTO, did not get a contract with the organization, ended up playing all year on an AHL-only deal in Wilkes-Barre Scranton with the Penguins organization, and he played center. He'd been awaying his entire career, played about 90%, he said, of his time at center, and certainly kind of found more parts of his game that kind of got unlocked a little bit. So he's come in and certainly raised some eyebrows that maybe we didn't think he could because of where he's at in his career at the age of 27 now. Jacob Pelletier, again, requires waivers to go down. So does Tkachuk. Pelletier, intriguing top 6 kind of guy. You see a lot of the offensive skill. I think like a lot of young players who are high first-round draft picks, needs to learn the other end of the ice a little bit better. So we'll see if that's something that the Lightning can work with him on. He signed a 3-year contract, so if he goes on waivers, you wonder if that would be a deterrent for other teams to kind of look at it. Because if you get claimed on waivers at this time of the year, you have to stay on the NHL roster, or the team has to put him back on waivers. And then, as we saw with Alex Barré-Boulet a couple of years ago, the Lightning could bring them back in the organization. So a lot of interesting decisions, even on defense. I mean, Declan Carlisle, again, continues to look like he belongs in the NHL. Certainly Max Crozier is a guy we've talked about for a couple of years and what he has, been able to kind of showcase in his time up here. So, this is the first time in a while. And what's crazy is I would have thought, and I thought this going into the start of training camp, that you probably could have penciled in the roster right now, right before you even took the ice for the first day. And after watching 5 preseason games and 2 weeks of camp, it's a little bit of a different situation now.
I just saw Alex Barré-Boulet put on waivers the other day by Colorado. Hope that he can kind of pick it back up. All right, let's talk about the 2 big names everybody's been waiting to hear to talk about. Let's start with Vasilevsky. John Cooper said last week, and I mentioned on the show last week, you got to get him on the ice by Monday. If he's going to be in the lineup next Thursday, he needs some time. He's not going to probably play in a preseason game, whatever. But where is your level of concern that Andrei Vasilevsky will not be ready for the season opener against the Ottawa Senators?
Well, let's get him into a full practice first and see.
All right.
He did skate on his own on Monday. Didn't see him. I was at the rink a little early. I did not see him on the ice, but John Cooper said he was out there a little bit early.
They knew that. They knew that. They were like, he's going to be here early. Get here at 6:45 a.m.
But he did come on the ice yesterday with the small group, the non-game group, which is now down to about 9 or 10 players that did not go to Orlando. That group skated beforehand. So he was out there for the full practice. Didn't notice anything, right? He went through his stretches and everything else. It wasn't look like he was moving gingerly. So whatever he's needing the player maintenance for, wasn't noticeable yesterday. No team was off today. Tomorrow's another game day, so you'll get a game group and a non-game group. Then Friday is a practice day. So let's get him into a practice and kind of see how he looks. Given his history, he has come back from lengthy absences before and not felt or looked any different, right?
Right.
He had that fractured foot in 2018. He missed a month. He came in and stopped 48 shots against the Maple Leafs in his first game back. 2 years ago, coming back from the back surgery in Carolina, the day after Thanksgiving, he was solid in that game. I think he stopped 22 shots in that game. So in terms of, does he need a preseason game? Given his track record, I'd say no. But I think just because, he was off for 9 days, we don't know what kind of treatment he was getting or anything like that. All that stuff goes on behind the scenes. But that would be the concern level, is just, can he get through a practice without having some issues? So, and obviously it's a big question mark, because we know he's the backbone of this team, and he set a career best in goals against last year, 2.18.
What about Victor Hedman?
Yeah, that's we don't know exactly what that one is. At least we saw him yesterday. He wasn't on the ice, but we saw him come out and watch practice towards the end. So at least he was around. I don't get the sense that they're overly concerned with Victor yet. You're still, 8 days away from the season opening against Ottawa next Thursday. So we'll see if he gets into a practice. We'll see if he skates tomorrow. If we get kind of any kind of an update. But that's another one to kind of keep an eye on, especially since it happened a week ago and we haven't seen him on the ice in a week.
Yeah, it was kind of strange, right? Because he was out there, left the ice with the team after the first period, and we didn't see him. He was gone before we even got there, and that happens sometimes in the preseason. But, I mean, you look at this team, if those guys are healthy for week one and they're able to kind of stem the tide, again, knock on wood, because we know what kind of, with the injuries and everything, but I feel like the door is as wide open as it's been in a while in the Atlantic Division. And looking directly at Mitch Marner, obviously not being there anymore for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and what happened with Matthew Tkachuk and now Alexander Barkov being out for the year for the Panthers, not only does it open up some doors for maybe teams like Montreal, teams like Ottawa, and some of these other teams to get some more points in the Atlantic Division, but I feel like the Lightning, man, for a team that's been trying to avoid one of their Atlantic Division rivals in the first round for these last couple of years, hell, man, if you can win the division and play a wild card team, like, that'd be a nice little dip of the toe in the water in the postseason for once, for the first time in a while. I think they have just as good a chance as anybody now to win this division.
Unless that wild card team is the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, you're right. Holy smokes.
I mean, that's just it. Like, you can't pick your opponent, right? Like,
right.
It's you just have to go out and take care of your business, right? Certainly, there's more of a door open. I think Toronto's not as strong. They'll still be a good team. I still think they have questions in goaltending, even though they just signed Stolarz to the contract extension, and he had a good year last year. But I think there's still some questions on that aspect. Florida's going to be interesting, right? They have not played any of their regulars. Like, their regulars haven't even really started skating yet, or at least, practicing. When Barkov got hurt, that was the first practice with a lot of their big name players on the ice. And, now
how long was that after the Lightning took the ice? 2 weeks?
Not quite 2 weeks. It was about a week and a half.
Yeah.
Right. So Thursday,
but still, yeah.
Yeah. So, coming off of 3 straight trips to the Stanley Cup final, which, we've seen happen here, and sort of the wear and tear it can put on the guys. I mean, that's obviously why Tkachuk is going to miss the start of the season after what he went through. And now Barkov is out. I mean, those are 2 huge players. Tkachuk might miss half the season. Right. So those are 2 big players that they're going to miss. So I don't know if they're going to get off to as good of a start as they did last year and be at the top of it. Ottawa's a team that everybody thinks will be on the rise, especially after they made the postseason last year. You look at some of the talent that Montreal has acquired, Lane Hudson, the rookie of the year, and the electrifying player that he is, and Demidov, who kind of came in late in the year and looked really good in, the playoffs. In their series, against Washington. So, I think points are going to be a little bit harder. They got John Gibson in goal now. Can he kind of solve some of the problems that they've had in net? As Steve Yzerman, like he did when he was here, is on that search for a goaltender to be the number one guy. Can he kind of help them? And doesn't Buffalo have to get better at some point? They got a lot of talent on that team too.
Yeah.
But they have goaltending issues as well, right? Devin Levi was supposed to be the guy, and he's already been sent back to Rochester, a week before the season starts. So he's not even competing for a number one job, with the Sabres. So, yeah, I think that the division is wide open, and I've seen a lot of prognostications suggest that the Lightning are going to win the division.
Right.
They got to go out and take care of their business, though. I mean, you have to get off to a good start, especially in a season like this that's a compact schedule. You have the Olympic break. You're going to have a lot of your top players participating in the Olympics, including your head coach. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. So I think of all years, I think it's imperative for the Lightning to get off to a good start this year.
Let everybody know what's up on lightninginsider.com, my friend.
Hey, I just mentioned the Tkachuk story. Talked to him pretty extensively the other day about, his time in Wilkes-Barre Scranton and what it meant for him. He actually, some people think that was a step back playing in the AHL all year. He actually thinks it was a step forward for him. I think we're seeing that. So he talked a lot about that. That's posted up there as well. Story on Ethan Gauthier, who was just sent back, and, him starting pro this year and what he wants to be able to bring to the Lightning organization as he starts his pro career down there. So a lot of good feature stories up, a lot of daily stuff, talking about Vasilevsky the other day is up there. So it's a busy time of year as we get ready for the start of the regular season, and lightninginsider.com is the website.
Promo code still working?
Absolutely. Always there, my friend.
Promo code JNZ. Get JNZ. Those 3 letters get $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season after at lightninginsider.com. The only guy that we go to who's been around watching this Lightning team for longer than the rest of us. It's our good pal, Erik Erlendsson. Erik_Erlendsson. It's a K, not a C, 2 S's after the D. Always a pleasure, my friend. I will talk to you again soon. Thank you.
Yep. See you at the rink.
Thanks, buddy. Erik Erlendsson, the man, the Icelandic hammer. The man. I just love hockey season's back. And the Bolts, man, I tell you what, if you can get Vazzy, you can get Hetty, and those guys are looking good. I mean, man, watch out. Watch out for this Lightning team. I wasn't as bullish on them early on, but a lot of the questions that I had, they're answering them. I really wanted to see these young guys pushing up from the bottom and really, vying for a spot. And we're not just seeing a couple of guys. We just mentioned 5 or 6 guys battling for 2 or 3 spots. We didn't mention Pontus Holmberg either. We got Yanni Gordon there. Jim Gisgergensen's played really well in the postseason too. Nick Paul's going to come back in November. So some really good things from our Tampa Bay Lightning. Real quick on the Buccaneers, man, a lot of people out today in practice. Todd Bowles says Bucs still aren't ruling Bucky Irving out for Sunday. Todd Bowles says they'll wait to see if he's out of the boot by Friday. And if he's not, we don't really know. So, and Baker says we'll see. Attention to detail, Todd Bowles will be the key to Bucs solving their ongoing issues with blocked punts and kicks. All right. And we shout out to running backs coach Skip Pete, who left practice today, taken away in an ambulance, dehydration. He's going to be okay. He's alert and he's stable, but shout out to Coach Skip. He's such a fun guy, always out there joking around with the media and the fans. Really, really good guy. You can hear him from a mile away. And hopefully he'll be back on his feet and back with the team very, 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 very soon. And I know there were some people wondering if there was going to be a change when it came to the timing for the game on Sunday. Nope. The game will start at 4:05 up there in the Pacific Northwest. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. I wanted to let everybody know that I love you and I miss you all. Really, really good stuff. Big shout out to all of our guests today. What a program. Martin Gramatica, Erik Erlendsson, Rich Hollenberg, and you guys are the best. Continue to like and share. Hit that like button, man. Donate via the super chats as well. And a big thank you to our partners, Honest Hammer Custom Builders and EverHealth. The EverHealth injury report at 12:30 tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Bucky Irving injury. We're going to talk about the Tyreek Hill injury and a whole lot more. You do not want to miss that. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube. I could not do this without all of you. Everybody have a safe, a happy, a healthy Thursday. We'll talk more baseball tomorrow. Talk some more baseball tomorrow and playoffs. I got to run. But we'll do MLB playoffs tomorrow after 2 games and give my full assessment on Jazz Chisholm and the Yankees and everybody. We'll get into that mañana. I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Recher Podcast. I am gone.